And spawning over here in the bottom right-hand corner is the red Terran. It is Evil Genius's DeMusliM. His opponent in the bottom left is going to be Apocalypse. And, you know, I don't want to say it's like an unfortunate build order loss last game, but I almost feel like that's how you have to dismiss last game if you are DeMusliM. Like you just say, well, it's not my standard.
Yeah, you just kind of have to just move on, pretend it didn't happen, like it is. So it's like it's game one.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much you could take from that. It's like, okay, I screwed up on my defenses. That's it, right? Like I didn't really get to show or discriminate who is the better player, and I feel like DeMusliM definitely has that capability of being a little bit better. Both these players. Oh no, excuse me. Barracks start first for DeMusliM, but Apocalypse is the one going Refinery first.
Yeah, so the Refinery first usually lends to a Cloak Banshee build like we saw in game one. Sometimes people will mix it up and go for like 1 or 2 quick siege tanks and try to push, and that's kind of metagamey because it only works if they're assuming Cloak Banshee and playing to counter it. I'd guess Cloak Banshee though. That's the most common for sure.
Yeah, I mean there are some 1-1-1 things you can do, but just Cloak Banshee is, I think, deemed as so much better just because the ability to scout out consistently, to do damage consistently, and stay alive consistently while baiting out scans. It just does so much indirect damage over, you know, stuff like mine drops, which we definitely see. Roro versus Innovation comes to my mind. Hellion drops, etc., etc.
In terms of Banshees, I think these positions favor DeMusliM very slightly. The main base from Apocalypse is more exposed if DeMusliM goes Banshees, whereas the Banshees from Apocalypse would go straight for the natural of DeMusliM. And with one turret, if he makes missile turrets, he can kind of defend that and kind of zone out the main base as well. So I'd give us a slight positional advantage to DeMusliM here. It's not that major though.
I agree. Not only the main, but basically you can go to the natural at the same time, right? Like either of them is very, very possible. So that's going to be very pleasant. Unfortunately, this SCV from Apocalypse is going to get in here. Actually, fortunately for him, because he sees, wow, no gases. You went for a fast expansion. I know exactly what you're doing. The range for Apocalypse is gigantic. He could be doing anything right now, and it'll come out overall even or ahead, I feel.
Yeah, his SCV scout is moving down the map, though. There's only one Marine at the base of the ramp, so I think that SCV is definitely going to get in. It does see no command center, and seeing no command center, I think it's going to clue him into the Cloak Banshee. Oh, did he not?
He actually didn't see it. No, he didn't see it.
I think that's definitely a mistake from him. If he just suicides that one SCV, he'll see no command center for sure.
Well, you have to be careful because the command center can be on the top ground, right? Like it doesn't have to be. It could be a CC first or something like that, especially with the amount of Marines out in the field. So you have to be careful. It can be very deceiving, especially for the timing. But yeah, I mean, he needs to verify to some extent that this is what his opponent is going even. Like, look, this is completely dark. So I'm expecting this next orbital command center to pop out here is going to be a scan.
He's still expecting it, though. He just threw down eBay in his main base. Cloak Banshees are so common now that even if you don't scout them, you can kind of expect them.
Yeah. This is really safe eBay, too. You can actually push this off to 5:30-ish. But he gets all the way at 5 minutes. That's going to be very, very comprehensive. He's just basically saying, I do not, absolutely do not want to lose to any of this Banshee shenanigan. And look at that. The scan will reveal Cloak Banshees on the way. A reactor up for that barracks as well. Nothing of too much value. Looks like Apocalypse will take the command center directly behind this. And look, DeMusliM, he does not want to lose. He's already making his bunker, so that won't be in production as the game as the Banshee starts fighting, and the turret is already going to be finished by the time the Banshee is just halfway across the map. This is beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, and these turrets could kind of zone the Banshee into this area between the gas on the left-hand side of the main and the gas at the bottom right of the natural. If it goes in there, he can maybe trap it and kill it. He has one turret up above the barracks and one in each mineral line. It's a pretty good placement. I think he's in a good setup to deal with these Banshees this time.
Definitely so, and it looks like he's going to thread the needle, though. Apocalypse getting into a position where it's really hard for Marines to position. Like, do you position the low ground or the high ground to kill this?
Yeah, it's a hard position for DeMusliM to kill that Banshee, but it's a good position for the Banshee to stay alive and not take damage as well.
Yep, and look at this, doing damage against the SCVs now, doing a good job. 2 SCVs already down, and also killing the factory SCV. Looks like a scan will be baited out, but look at that. The Banshee just gets away. This is one of the main advantages of Whirlwind in general. You're just able to retreat really efficiently. Baiting that scan, you can think of it as 270 minerals over 90 seconds. I mean, that's a lot of minerals to be losing. That's almost 3 turrets.
Oh, and in the background, something I like a lot. Apocalypse has made several Widow Mines, and he's now moving across the map with them. This is something we don't see too often. Like, often I see 1 mine with the Banshees, but he has 3 of them. We'll have to see what he does with them. I think he might use them to... this one's kind of walking in. That's interesting. Usually use them to kind of scout, like put in front of his base with 1, and it can see when he moves out. Sometimes you put 1 to deny the 3rd base, make him waste his scan, and see when he takes him as well. This Banshee's getting a lot done, though.
Does finally get taken out. Let's take a look at the units lost tab. Very similar, but this is what is not accounted for. 2 scans, 3 scans have already been used in this game for DeMusliM. 1 to scan out the, well, actually 4 scans now. 2 to scan out in this position, and of course 2 to scan the Banshee. So that's already 1,000 minerals lost that he could have been using in this period in time. Really, really brutal loss right now for DeMusliM, even though he's gotten the economic build, we should say.
The one advantage DeMusliM does have, though, is his infrastructure. It's a lot more set up than Apocalypse is. Apocalypse only has 1 barracks, 1 factory, and 1 starport completed right now. You can't actually produce an army quickly off of that. DeMusliM, he may be not in the best economic position after he does scans, but in terms of infrastructure, he's way ahead.
I agree. I mean, he's definitely able to start materializing off his expansion a lot faster. It is going to be mech versus bio, and I love seeing this. I still feel like mech is very, very useful. I think it, a lot of times, really outdoes bio, but it has to be played so, so meticulously. Banshee will be taken out without a scan having to be used, so nice job from DeMusliM. He's gotten a lot of siege tanks already, so of course what we saw last game, that's not going to happen at all. The Reapers and the Banshee, well, the Reaper Banshee Hellion play would get shut down to just these two siege tanks and the single bunker pretty easily over here. Big scan gets done into the natural now of
This scan is going to tell him that Apocalypse is going mech as well.
Yes.
He sees a lot of Hellions and he sees nothing else there in the natural. This is going to tell him that it's mech for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the other cue would have been the fact that if you looked at it, like he did an 8-9 minute scan over here at the barracks and saw, okay, there's no stim, there's no tech lab on that barracks. For sure, you're not going to be going a lot of bio because you need that stim super, super fast in this matchup.
I think this is why he made the quick 3rd command center as well.
Yeah.
He knows mech can't punish it, and he just wants to get that economy up, get a 3rd pretty soon, and just macro behind that.
It's all about this confirmation, right? Like, he can do a lot of builds, but how does he know that he can do it safely? And he's finding out very, very fast here.
Oh, let's see if he runs into this Widow Mine.
And it's going to get a big hit, but of course, they don't one-shot all of the Marines, so luckily they have just a 5 health left. Looks like the Hellions will push out. I mean, this is enough Hellions, I think, to combat this army, especially with the Vikings, so he has to be so careful.
And he has no Marauders in this either. So if the Hellions target down those Marines, they're all going to die very, very quickly.
And don't forget, you also have the auto turrets, you have the Hunter-Seeker missiles, so we're going to see auto turrets are going to be placed down. You can see they are taking so much damage. Hellions just moving on in. The medevac gets taken out, it looks like, and the Hellions are going to be enough. Wow, that was a very one-sided fight. DeMusliM.
Did you see how quickly the Marines died, too?
Yeah, I mean, Blue Flame Hellion. It's not what it used to be, but it's still so incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
3rd base has been stopped. Apocalypse doing everything right. He has map control for the most part. I mean, these Hellions just offer so much. Now pushing into the natural base. 1 more medevac is going to be taken out. And things are looking good for Apocalypse yet again in game number 2. It's really unfortunate. DeMusliM, I mean...
He set himself up with a pretty good opening.
Yeah,
I think just doing that push was a bit questionable. I think scanning the Hellions, and he thought he'd be able to make it work. But I think when he got there, there was just a bit more stuff expected.
Nice micro coming out of both these players. Looks like the Marines are just so well spread up that he's able to take out all of these Hellions. And look at this, even saving the medevacs. Nicely done by DeMusliM. He was almost able to take out a lot of those Vikings.
Yeah, resecuring map control is so important for DeMusliM right now. As the bio player in Bio vs. Mech, you should have control over most of the map if you want to win the game. you want to keep the mech player on the defensive until he has a pretty large force.
Yeah, like, I always like to say like 14 to 16 siege tanks is like that money number where it's just silly to ever attack into a Terran, especially with Bio. From here, though, DeMusliM still has a lot of options. I mean, you can see he's starting to take his third base. He is pushing out across the field. This Widow Mine is going to take out another unit, this time a medevac. A lot more expensive. And there's multi-attacks going on. Hellbat drops over at the natural and the Hellions over at the third base. So this is a really nice job being done by Apocalypse, really forcing DeMusliM into a tough position. Income tab showing 49 to 59 Harvesters advantage for Apocalypse. Look at that, 22 workers killed so far. Beautifully done. As there is a big drop going into the main base. There were units to set up, but it looks like it's not going to be enough. Hellbats coming back into the main base of Apocalypse to hopefully defend against this, but he's a little bit late to the draw. Now taking out the armories. The armories aren't producing anything, but still, this is a brutal blow because you want to have similar upgrades against your opponents. Both armories being taken out.
And he can't build Hellbats anymore now that his armories die either.
But look at this, he's already at 2-0. I mean, he's looking really, really good against the 1-1 of DeMusliM. That would be 2-1, so it's not going to hurt him too badly because he's already been so good and diligent with his upgrades. He actually went to armory immediately before all production structures in the beginning stages.
Still, I think in that situation, I think the armories are the best thing DeMusliM could have targeted down there.
Yes, I agree. I definitely agree. Another Widow Mine shot is going to do a lot of damage against these siege tanks and Marines.
Finally scanned it and got rid of it, though.
Still one more, though. He has to be careful for that. But in general, I still feel like Apocalypse is looking really, really good. I mean, this is such a feeble army, and here it is, the initiation from Apocalypse. The Hellbats dropping directly on top of everything, doing a great job killing all the siege tanks and pushing DeMusliM back yet again. DeMusliM just struggling to keep some semblance of an army, but it continuously gets taken out or traded. And these aren't the best trades because Apocalypse has been having a much better economy this whole time. Now Apocalypse moving over to the mid-bottom position, and this is putting DeMusliM so far out of position. I don't know what DeMusliM can do from here.
So at this position from DeMusliM, I think what he wants to do is try to stall this push a tiny bit if he can, and then just kind of make it stall out at one point until he gets enough stuff to crush it.
Oh, well, this is a good time because the Hellbats are so far out of position. The siege tanks...
He's targeting down this tank so fast, too.
Wow. Beautifully done.
Perfect.
I mean, a big mistake from Apocalypse.
And look at the supply now.
132 supply to 104. A big advantage there for DeMusliM. I mean, he was so close to losing that if the siege tanks were slightly faster with that siege up. If the Hellbats were in position, those Marines and Marauders would not be able to get those good connections. And now all of a sudden, like a light switch, DeMusliM will be able to exercise control all over the map.
Yeah, these mech armies, they look so scary when they push out across the map. But if they're caught a bit off guard and flanked, and you have a good concave with the bio, it can just melt so quickly. All these units, the mech units, they deal out a lot of damage, but they don't have that many hit points against the fire and Marauders.
Yeah, the Marauders are able to take the stuff down so fast, especially with the medevacs, like always consistently healing them. They're actually incredibly good tanks as well. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done. Looks like DeMusliM is taking that 4th command center. I mean, that was the real turning point, if I have to say so. I mean, this is...
Yeah, definitely. Apocalypse held the advantage the entire game up until this point after his Banshee harass. And DeMusliM just flipped it around.
Yeah. I think that's what's so frustrating about a lot of mech play, too. Like, all these... I know a lot of Terrans always say, like, oh, if you lose one battle, you lose the game. But I can win, like, every single battle and then just lose the final one and it's over. It makes it very frustrating to play, but I do think it's the hardest and the strongest, honestly. Looks like big engagement happens in the main base. Hellions, it looks like, are going to be the majority of the units that clear everything up. Of course, a couple systems from behind. But nicely done. I mean, Hellions are your more expendable units rather than your siege tanks. Let's go ahead and take a look at the units tab. 10 siege tanks out in the field against 2 siege tanks. Do we have any composition charts? Hold on, there was a drop over at the 3rd base over here. Apocalypse does need to look for another base pretty soon here. But I don't think there's any big switches, no. But what I do like is DeMusliM is maintaining the air control, which is so good for empowering his medevacs and also making it so it's so incredibly hard for his opponent to mass up the right amount of Vikings.
Yeah, I think Apocalypse, he's in a tough spot right now. He's kind of put on the back foot. DeMuslim's taking a 4th Apocalypse. He's hasn't started his force phase yet. And also that drop DeMusliM just did, although it didn't do too much damage, it cleaned out the missile turrets on the edge of his base. So follow-up drops are going to be even stronger than the last one.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, there's just so much Apocalypse has to think about. So much he has to defend it against, and if he defends against all of them, he just gives like a couple minutes to DeMusliM, which basically allows DeMusliM to build a bank, to take complete map control, to get even more bases, and make it so much harder for this mech army to push out.
Yeah, one slip up with his army like he made before, and this is over. If this push doesn't do something, or at least trade effectively, then I think he's going to be in between a rock and a hard place. There's a medevac drop in his main base going down from DeMusliM too that's killing a lot. This means that he has to get a ton done with this push because he's taking so much damage.
The Hellbat drop doesn't do that much. Now the Siege Tanks are directly engaging. Still a good fight for Apocalypse overall, but DeMusliM, as you said, this attack going on in the main base is ravaging everything, really disallowing a lot of the production to go back and reinforce this main push. And you can see it's a pretty feeble army now. No anti-air means the medevacs will be cleared up, and also empowering DeMusliM's medevacs. So now he can do a drop directly on top of everything. And you can see the Siege Tanks don't have any units to actually accompany them. The Hellbats are all the way over in the bottom right-hand position, and these Siege Tanks are going to be cleaned up to a very small amount of units. These couple of Marines and Marauders are going to clean everything up. Beautifully dumped by DeMusliM, and he's going to continue his drop going into the natural base.
And in the meantime, he put the starport in the main base of DeMusliM as well. That means no more Vikings, no more medevacs for Apocalypse. Without being able to produce any more Vikings, it's going to be so tough for him to clean up these drops, as he has no Vikings currently on the field.
Wow, DeMusliM pulling it out of his hat, man. He's back. Well, he's more than back into this game. He's got this game won, 102 supply to 69. A pretty sizable advantage, and Apocalypse just looking for a solution, looking for a way to actually start mining additional minerals, because you can see his natural is mining out. His third base, barely anything. Income tap, 21 to 37 harvesters. But look at this, DeMusliM has this PF over here. It's a fresh base. He also has his third base that can be reclaimed very fast.
Yeah, and Apocalypse is moving out some medevacs at the top right hand of the map with 3 Hellbots. There's already a P-Fort at that base, though. I don't think it'll be able to do too much, and he has to do something now. He's not mining from his third currently. He still has no force base on the way, and he doesn't have that many forces to muster another push like the last two.
And on top of that, I mean, there's been enough time where there's double starport production. Oh, here it is, and PFs are going to be able to... Actually, the SCV is getting taken out pretty fast, and wow, none of the Hellbats actually die here now going into the third base. And DeMusliM realized and says, oh, I have to do something about this going into the natural base. Remember, and going into the main, excuse me. Remember, there's no Vikings out in the field because of that Viking control on the top ground. Now pushing into the natural base. These factories aren't even making anything, now losing a lot of his economy. But Apocalypse coming into the third base now to take out some of these SCVs. But Marines and Marauders are right around the corner to stop all of this, and everything gets cleaned up. GG gets called out, and DeMusliM will tie up the series 1-1 apiece. Really well done from DeMusliM. I mean, we saw